Hi all, so welcome back to this channel, and in this video session I'll be discussing Open API, which is an C API, and I'm going to use this API in our RPG program, and I'm going to actually create and open a file on the IFS in IBM. So what this API is all about, um, as we all have seen my previous videos, like where I use copy to HTML or IMPF commands to create the string files on the IFS. Now I'm going to use a C API uh, in RPG program, which is going to create that file for us. So it's so let's discuss about that. So Open API is basically opens a file uh, on the IFS. If it's not created, it will create that, and what it returns? It returns a file descriptor. So file descriptor is an integer number, so that you can say a return from that function, that open function in C. And file descriptor basically denotes that this file is opened or not. So if that file is not opened or any error occurred, that file is descriptor returned as -1. So if it's not -1, then it means if it's a number, let's say 0, 1 or anything else greater than that, it means that the file has been opened. So for every file being opened has a file descriptor. Like in our RPG, when we open a file, we first define them in FS specs. So we need to define every file in the FS specs, but here in C we don't need to define every file. So what we need to do is, here comes basically there plays a role, that file descriptor plays a role, that which tells the other C APIs that which file is being opened at the present time. Now um, so that was the introduction to this API. Now comes to the prototype of this API. So prototype is something that tells us that what are the input parameters and what are the output parameters, or what are actual returns. So basically this is a open function, as you can see open here, and it has an integer int data type before that. So it means that it is returning an integer, which is a file descriptor basically, and this is the name of the function. And then it accepts some parameters like const char star path, which means it basically accepts a pointer to the characters. So in C, what happens, we basically pass the uh, address of the starting positions of the characters, and then it will read the further at that address. So it's basically a pointer to the characters, and then the flag which is used when we open that file. So this flag is used when we open that file which we are creating, or which we have created on the IFS. So in what way we are going to open that, so that this flag would tell. And dot 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 defines that there are several uh, other parameters could be, so that are optional. But in IBM basically here we define two optional parameters. The first one is the mode, which is used with the flag parameters. So based upon the flag settings the mode is used. And other one is the code page. So code page is basically defines that how the conversion would takes place between the different CCS IDs. So we need to define the code pages. That's again an optional thing. Now that's what the prototype is, but let me show you the full prototype of this. So I explained this thing. Now let's try to have the the prototype in RPG. So I created this program to show you the demo. So I'm currently discussing about this prototype. So let's focus on this. So I'll explain each things here. So we have this function. So basically we have this parameter who we have this procedure open here, which we are defining. We can have any other name as well because we use ext proc with the open. Since in C we all, or you must know that the names are uh, case sensitive, so I am using all in the small case with the ext proc, and I can have other name as well. So it basically returns an integer. So integer in RPG is 10i0, or we can define them in the binary as well. Now this procedure will return an integer which is going to be a file descriptor for us, as I told. Now the first parameter is Ifs path. So Ifs path, here you can see it's a pointer to the characters, so you can see it's a pointer variable, and it's here we use options star string, uh, which basically what it did is, uh, we are basically passing the pointer to this parameter, which is based upon the strings. So in C, what it expects is there should be a string, and there should be a pointer to the string, and that should be terminated by the null characters x, who then quotes then 00, that is the null character. So the null character must be there, so that it finds that after this much memory, or after this much address, uh, or after this much offset, we find this null character, so just stop reading from here. So basically we pass this, or you can see that this parameter is value. So why we are going to have this, just because we want to use options string. So basically passing a pointer with value and options string means we are passing by reference, not by value actually. Now what if I do, if I pass it as a reference, because since in that case I won't be using this value keyword here. If I pass that by reference, call by reference, what happens, it basically passes the address to that API, this API. So if we pass the address to this API, we are not passing the actual value in that case. So we are passing the addresses of these parameters. So what C API expects here is, whenever we define the data type with the parameters, it expects the value. So it expects the value, so that's why we are passing it by value, so that we pass the actual value it contains. We must not pass the addresses to that API. Now this thing is a character pointer, which means it should be a call by reference. So we pass the pointer to the API, but here you can see value, but this value doesn't make sense because we are passing the pointer, and that's an options string, which means we can pass any length of a string which is terminated by a null character. So this would do that thing for me, so I don't have to pass it by call by reference. So if I don't use this, then I need to do that thing, that we need to terminate the string by the null character. But if I use this, I don't need to do that, and it's already a call by reference, pass by reference, you can say. Now O flag is the second parameter, where we are passing uh, the flags which are basically used when opening a file or creating a file. So here what we do is we pass the string of 32 bits. I'll explain these things in detail in this video later. So first I'm talking about the prototype only. So you must understand how we'll be transforming the C API prototype to the RPG prototype. So integer is 10i0 here. So we'll be passing the by value because the C API expects integer in the input parameter. The other two parameters are mode and code page. Mode is basically used with this O flag parameter. So this tells about the authorities which we provide to the owner or the group user, which are same as the owner or the other peoples. So this tells about the authorities. So this is unsigned integer and its options is no pass. This is an optional parameter to pass if we, and it accepts 9 bits of a string. So and the last is the optional again, and that's again the unsigned integer. That's a code page. Code page basically used with the files when we create a files. So it tells that in which CCS ID we are going to create a file. Let's say for CCS ID 37, if I'm going to create that, it's basically for the EBCDIC US. So if I going to, that is going to be readable only, that is going to be work we can work on that on the EBCDIC. We cannot use that on the ASCII or the Windows system. So if I want to have that in the Windows, we should pass 819, that is for ASCII, and we can have other CCS IDs like Unicode as well. So it depends that what CCS ID we want to set for that file, so that whatever we then going to be write, that should be transformed or converted into that CCS ID, and that should be workable with those systems. So that's all about the prototype. So we cover the introduction part, we cover the prototype part here, and now going to explain the parameters which we are accepting, which we are going to provide as an input to this API, open API. Now the first parameter is the IFS path. So that's already explained that we need to pass the IFS path. Like for example, I want that the file should be created in my current directory. So my current directory is currently home/home, that is the root directory slash, and then home slash, then easy class slash, then the file name. Then the file name could be having extension as well. Now that's, if I provide that, this option will uh, insert a null character at the last into this. Now the second parameter is O flag. Now let's open flag, you can say. So when we are going to open or create a file, we will assign some flags to this. So basically we are going to pass a 32 bits of string. So let's have that. 1 2 3 4 5 6 7 8 9 10 11 12 13 14 15 16 17 18 19 20 21 22 23 24 25 26 27 28 29 30 31 32. So we are going to pass bits, which means binary. So we are going to pass 32 bits of binary value to this flag. So how we are going to pass this? So I'll explain that. So for read only, let's say I want to open the file in read only mode, read only. So what I'll do, I'll pass 1 to this. So this is the decimal value, as you can see. So I am basically creating the constants which holds the decimal values, having so if I convert those decimal values to the binary, that would be basically setting some bits to on. So what I'll do, let me have this thing. So I'm going to convert the decimal to the binary. So let's say 1. So 1 is going to do the first bit, which means if I do 1, it will set on the first bit. So if I set on the first bit, it means out of 32 bits which it accepts, so which means that we are going to open the file in the read only mode. Now for write only mode, the decimal value is 2. So if I set the second bit to on, let's say this one, okay, sorry. So we are going to set the second bit to on, so that which means that we are going to open this file in write only mode. So if I'm going to open this file in read write mode, what I'll do, I'll set this decimal value, which means I'm going to set the third bit to on. Let's see. So I'm explaining this parameter O flag one by one. So I'm going to set third bit to on, which means, so I'm passing this. So I'm not going to pass these binary values, so I'm going to pass the decimal value for that. So which means uh, third bit. So I'm going to set the third bit to on in this case. So which means read and write. So I'm going to open that file in read or write mode. So if the next flag is the next value, you can say, is create file if not exist. So in case if you are going to open a file which is not existed, you need to first create that file. So what you will do, you will pass this value. So let's copy this first. So for 8, you will be setting the fourth bit to on. You can see you will be setting fourth bit to on this time. So first bit will set the open the file in read only mode, the second bit on, which means write only mode, third bit read write, fourth bit if the file is not created, just create that file in the IFS. So you will pass these flags. So if you I'll explain that thing later. So exclusive read, exclude read, if you want to create exclude uh, file. So if you want to create a file and exclude that for others, so what we'll do, you will set fifth bit to on. For truncate to 0 bytes, if you want to open a open a file and truncate it to 0 bytes, what you will do, you will pass 64, which means you are setting 7th bit to on. You will be setting 7th bit to on. So if you pass convert text by code page, which means if you want to convert the code, uh, the text by the code page, what you will doing, you will be passing 256 value, which means so you'll be setting 9th bit to on. So here you can see uh, So for truncate bytes, for append to file, sorry, not for convert text by code page. For append to file, you will be setting ninth bit to on and so on. So if you pass this value, uh, you will be setting 24th bit to on. So this way you will be setting a particular bit to on to make that thing work. So I'm going to remove this. Let's keep it as it is. So for appending data to the file, if a file already exists and I want to append some data to it and it has some data, so I'll be opening that file in this mode. So basically we are going to set this flag to on. We'll pass this value 256 to the O flag in that case, and if I want that to be converted to the code page, so if I pass this parameter O code page, then we need to pass the uh, the fourth parameter as well, code page, which I'll be explaining later. Now if I want to open that in the text mode, which again talks about the code page parameter, the last parameter, so I would have to pass this decimal value, which has some binary value, means I'm going to set some bit on. Now let's take an example. I want to open a file. I don't have file on the IFS and I want to open a file. So for opening a file I need to create that file first. So I need to create that file. If not exist, so I need to pass this 8, and I want that once it gets created, it would be opened in the read and write. Either I want to open that in the write mode only. Okay, so what I need to pass is 8 plus 2 10. So I need to pass 10, means I'm going to set this. So in that case I'm going to set this I'm going to set this fourth and the second bit to on. Okay, so I'm going to pass this value. So what I'll be passing in decimal is 10. So I'll be showing you 1010. So this way I'm going to pass the value. So if in case I want that, I create a file, I truncate it to some bytes, I open that in read and write mode, both the mode, and I want to use this as well, open text by code page. So I need to pass all these values. So the summation of all these values. So what I'll do, I'll add these flags when I'm passing that to the O flag. So this way we can achieve what we want. So when I'm going to open a file on the IFS, I can pass any value. Even I can pass all the values. It depends. So I can pass all these four values. So I need to pass 8 plus 4 12 to 14 and 15. If I want, I can pass this 10. So I need to pass these flags to the or these constant values as a summation to this flag O flag, so that I can open my file in that particular mode, that is write only or read only. Or if I want to create the file, I can create a file, I can truncate to 0 bytes, or I can use convert text by code paste thing, or open in text mode. So all this thing I can do using this flag. So I think now it is clear to you that how this binary works, how you will be passing the values, or how you will be setting some bits to on when you are performing these operations by opening or creating a file on the IFS. Now the next parameter is mode, so which is driven using the O flag parameter. So if I'm going to create this file, so if I set this indicator on, I can use this mode flag. So here in this mode, um, now O flag parameter has already been explained. Now I'm going to explain the mode parameter. um, Now what it does is basically, in mode we pass 9 bits. Let's have that here. So 9 bits like 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Okay, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. So I'm going to pass 9 bits to this parameter, and let's say every bit is 0 right now. So I'm not passing anything to this mode. Now the first three bits from the left side, 987, denotes the owner, and the other three bits denotes to group, and other three denotes to other. Now let's say, we can have the authorities to the we can provide the authorities to the users. So either write, R is for write, R is for read, W is for write, and X is for execute. Now what I can do is I can provide the authorities to the owner using these bits, 9 bits. So first 3 bits is for owner, the next 3 bits is for group, uh, which are uh, so the group members which are there in the same group as the owner, and this is for the other people. So what I can do, I can provide the read owner, write owner, execute. So read, write, execute. So I can provide 3 types of authorities to the owner, or to the group, or to the others. So what I'll be going to do is, let me explain why I have given these values. So first thing, let's say I want to give owner the read authority. So I'll be setting, so here is read, write, execute, read, write, execute, read, write, execute authority. So I'm setting this bit to on. So let's have the decimal value for this. So let's convert the binary to the decimal now, which is 256. So I am having this constant having value 256. So if I want to assign the owner authority of read, then I will be passing this. So if I want to assign owner a write authority, what I'll be doing is I'm setting the 8th bit to on, which is for owner. So in that case, what would be the decimal value? 128. So I would be using 128. So let's say if I want to assign user the read authority and the write authority both. So what I will do, I will be having, in that case I will passing 1 1 1, which means I will be passing the sum of these two, 376 384. So you can see in that case I will be passing 384. So what I'll be doing while passing 384 is we will be adding these two. So in case if I want to give all the authorities to the owner, so in that case, let's say if I want to give the execute authority only, so what I'll be doing, I'll be setting the third bit to on. So I'll be passing this binary value which denotes to 64 decimal. So here you can see I'm having 64 as a constant value in the execute owner authority constant. So if I want to pass all these authorities, I will be passing 1111. In that case, I need to pass this value 448, which is the sum of these three. So I will be passing in the mode parameter the sum of these three. So I'll be summing up these constant and we will pass sync to the mode. So if now the same way, if I want to I want to provide the group user the authority of read, I will be setting this to on. If I'll be providing write authority to that, I'll be setting this to on. If I'll be providing execute authority, I'll be setting this to on. So the same way, if I provide all the authorities to that, so first three would be 0 and then like this, all the authorities like read, write and execute to the group user, I would be providing this. So in case if I want that no authorities to the other users, so I would be passing 0 0 0 0 0 and 0 0 0 0 0. If I want them have the authorities of read only, so I will be passing this. If I want them have the authority of write only or execute, I will be passing this. So this has one value, this is 2 and this is 4. That's the decimal value we have for all these binary values. Now if I want to have all the authorities for the other people and not for a group and authority, will passing this. So if I want every authority to everyone, owner, group, user or other people, I'll be passing setting all the bits to on, which means I'll be passing 511. So I'll be summing all these things, so which will give me 511. So I'll be passing this. So instead of passing 511 or 128 or 64, which is hard to remember, so we can have the constant here defined, and which will we will be adding them up to pass the authorities to the chooser to the mode parameter to provide authorities to the responding users like read, write or execute. So this way I think you got the concept of the bits binary to decimal or decimal to binary thing. So now you got the concept of mode thing, which is the third parameter and an optional parameter. The next parameter is the code page, which is going to be a CCS ID either 37 or 819 for ASCII, 37 for BCDIC, Unicode like 1200 or other CCS IDs you can provide. So this going to be work uh, when we are having this, when we are going to create a file. Okay, so I'm not going to use that CCS ID thing right now. Once we are in later videos, we'll be discussing the code page and details so that we can have separate videos on every or most of the code pages we can use, or most of the files we can create using the code pages. So I'll be discussing that there. So since it's a optional parameter, I won't be passing that. So let's now going to be write a program. So these are the constant for mode, these are for O flag, which you got the concept I think why we took these values, because we are going to setting some bits to on and we have the decimal values for that, and what number of bits we expecting or accepting in these two parameters. Now we define now come to the program. We define the ifs path variable 1024a. We can have it like 5 and 12a as well. So we can have any length of ifs path because we use this thing, that is options star string, and we don't need to worry about adding the null character at the last, and that will be done by this thing only. And this is the IFS path where I'm going to create a file /home/easy class /openfile1. So openfile1 is the file which I'm going to create. I am not giving any extension right now. So waffling. So you can see openfile1 is not there. So let's say I am going to create this file in file1. So this is the Ifs path. This is my first parameter which I defined here as a standalone variable. Then the O flag parameter, which is an integer, and O flag is something we can provide. So this file does not exist. So what I can do, I can I want that this file should be created. So I'll be passing this O underscore create file if not exist, that is 8 plus I want that read only or write only. I want read write both authorities to this, not authorities, sorry. We want that we must open this file and we can read or write this file. So we'll be open using 4. So 8 plus 4 is 12. We'll passing this to the O flag. If I want that it should be created, it should be truncated, I would be passing this plus this. And if I want to only write this file, so I will be passing this as well. 64 plus 8, 64 plus 8, 72 plus 2, 74 in that case. So I can pass anything I want. So let's see. Currently I am passing O underscore create file if not exist. So just create the file if not exist, plus I am opening that file in read write mode. I can read that file and I can write to that file as well. Now the next thing is mode parameters. So mode parameter is just, so I'm using the create constant, so I'm passing create. So I'm going to create a file. So here I can use the, or I can provide the authorities when I'm creating that file. So what I can do, I can provide the authorities to the owner. um, let's say I'm going to provide the owner so I'm going to provide, let's say I'm not going to provide any authorities to the group authority or other people. So I'm going to provide myself the authority, the owner. So I want that only read, write or execute. So I want these three. So I'll be passing these three. So I'm adding all these three. Then that's all things. Now I need to call this API. So I'm calling this API open, and then I'm passing the first parameter as Ifs path by trimming that, and then what I'm doing, I'm passing the O flag, which is this, and the third parameter mode, which is an optional parameter again. If I want, I may not pass that. That's an optional parameter for me. I can or I cannot. I can or I may pass. So the next thing is the code page. I'm not using code page for now. I'm going to create that in the jobs ECS ID, and here you can see it's a return type file descriptor, because this API accepts these parameters, out of which last two ones are the no pass, that is optional, and first two are mandatory, and it will have a return type of integer, that is a file descriptor. So file descriptor is something which denotes which file is being opened right now. So file descriptor, if it is less than 0, it means there is some error in opening the file. If it's not less than 0, or it's 0 or greater than something, it defines that the file is being opened. And if it's less than 0, will be returned from here. If it is not, it will not go inside this, and we'll then set the last record indicator to on and then return. So this way you got the full idea of how you're going to execute an open API, and you got inside of every parameter what it actually accepting. So just save this. Just to tell, I used xcproc here, so that's why that could not be run in the default activation group. So I set default activation group as star no, set this star none, and just compile this. You can see and the program gets created successfully, so which demonstrate the open API. Let's debug this. Just set the breakpoint and call this program. So currently I'm passing this Ifs path. That would be once I pass this internally, that would be uh, end by the null character itself, because we have star options star string in the prototype when we are passing this to the API, open API. Now O flag we are passing read write and create file. So you can see it's 12. So read write is 4 and create file is 8. 8 plus 4 is 12. So we are passing the correct value to this parameter. And mode is read write owner, read owner, write owner, execute owner. So we have 448 here. So you can see 256, 128 plus 64, which is 448. And then I call this. So I pass these parameters to this and these values to the parameters. Then I have returned file descriptor, which is 1. So that's not less than 0, which is telling me that some file is open. So I think some file is already open, that's why it is giving me 1. Otherwise it would have been given me 0. So I need to so you can see this file is open. Or created. So you can see this file is created having nothing right now because we didn't write anything. So once I'm discussing about the write API, I'll tell you how we'll be going to write into this file, and we will integrate all these things by every video. So in this video I am talking about open, and then again we'll talk about the write, so that we can write, we can then uh, other things like read, and then we will integrating everything in a one whole video. So here we have nothing. Let's see the authorities, because we provide the read write authorities to the owner and star exclude to the public, because we did not provide any authority to the public or any group. Now let's say just change something here. I want only these two authorities, read and write, to the owner. Let's see. Just compile this. Just set this to source so that we can debug. To RT job. Just debug this again. We'll be deleting this file. Just see if any file is open. No file open. Call API underscore open. Now we are passing this Ifs path. O flag is same 12. Now this time I'm passing mode as 384, that is read owner and write owner authority, and this is currently 0. Let's call this API. So we receive 0. You can see earlier we received 1 because we have opened some file earlier, maybe in previous sessions or previous executions. So this time we receive 0. So if I again open another file, it will give me descriptor 1 and then 2 and 3 and so on with every other file. So every file has some descriptor, so which uh, actually tells other API that which file is open. So let's say if it assigns 0 descriptor to this file and 1 descriptor to some other file, so that actually tells that which file has to be read or which file has to be write in C language basically. So if file descriptor is less than 0, it means some error. If it is no error, it's 0 or some greater value, so it returns from there. So just do work link to see if that file is created. Yes, that file is created. Just see the authorities now. So you can see we have read and write authority now. Earlier we have read, write and X. That was execute authority. So let's call this with only, let's say, write authority. I'm passing only write authority to this file. Just delete this. Just see the authorities, so you can see only write authority is there for this. So this way uh, you can create and open file in different modes like read only, write only, or truncate only, or read, write both, or with any of the CSS IDs, which will be discussed later in some later videos. And you can assign the authorities to the users, to the owner, to the group, or to the other peoples. So that's all about the open API, and I think we got a detailed insight of this API. Now I think you will be able to uh, have the in-depth knowledge of this API, that how you will be going to use this, how you will be passing the binary bits in the form of decimal to the flag parameter or to the mode parameters as 32 bits or 9 bits. So that's all in this video. I think you like this video. Thank you and have a nice time.